Very good morning. How are you, lads?
Yeah, very good. Before we get into the snooker, Jadon Sancho, do you want him or not?
Absolutely, yeah. We could do with a few players, and he'd be one of the best players, young players in Europe. Yeah, I think he'd be a great addition to the United team.
So pay the money. Stop.
Hey, listen, it's not my money. It's Ed Woodward's in Manchester United. I wish he'd pay you. He should have paid for Fernandes last summer as well and waited until January. Yeah.
So the track record says pay the money, I think. Anyway, look,
absolutely.
Sorry. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
No, you're dead right.
Come here.
I'd rather talk about football anyway.
Is this not the perfect World Championship with all of the stuff that's going on around it? Like, do you enjoy the circus and the carnival that comes with Ronnie, or do you think it's a distraction from the stuff that's happening?
No, I'll tell you, I love watching him play. I mean, you know, there's no better sight in the world when Ronnie is in full flow. And he's great for the game in that respect. You know, brings a lot of fans to the game, has done for the best part. Well, since 1992, he's been absolutely brilliant. So I love him from that respect, but I don't love the way he goes on with his comments afterwards. I think it's very disrespectful to a lot of the guys who probably look up to him on the tour, a lot of the younger guys particularly, and he just like slagged them off basically as if they were almost like dirt on a shoe, that you could cut his arm and leg off and still beat them. So I can't, that doesn't wash with me. I don't care how good you were or how big of a name you were. You have to have respect for your fellow pros. You have to have respect, full stop. That's the way I was brought up. And I don't like it when people do that. I have to stand up and make a voice, like, you know, because you can't have people, you know, slagging off the rest of the tour. I mean, it was only a few years ago he wanted to go on breakaway tour because he wasn't happy with some of the venues that he was playing in. That's Ronnie. That's what you get with him. But I don't like it. It doesn't wash with me, I'm afraid.
Why do you think he's doing it?
He loves the attention. He loves to make the headlines. I think that's the reason why. I think maybe it's backfired on him a little in this match because yesterday he didn't look like on it at all, and maybe distracted by the attention he was getting from his comments the previous day. Mark Williams has played really well. And from 2-1 down, he's 6-2 up, and Ronnie's in major trouble. He needs a big start this afternoon and this evening, particularly this afternoon, because if he doesn't play well this afternoon, he could be out, you know. And it's the championship is there for anybody to win, and he was a big favourite. Judd Trump's in trouble as well, as Shane was talking about. So it's been a great championship now. You know, even during this COVID crisis with no crowds, which has been terrible, but it's still been a great championship. It's had a lot of great talking points.
Sorry, Shane, I'm just going to do one last point on this. I don't know if you're a big golf fan at the moment, but Brooks Koepka is somebody who has a bang of Ronnie O'Sullivan off him, actually, where he kind of...
Yeah.
He almost has to talk himself into caring about what's happening. He can't get up for any of the minor tournaments. It's only the majors. And then last Saturday had a big cut off. Dustin Johnson was like, well, I mean, yeah, Dustin Johnson's never won from this position, really, has he? Like, he's going to struggle. And then went out and was 77th of 78 on the final round. So it blew up in his face, and that was the first time we'd seen him. I wonder, is there a bang of that off Ronnie trying to, like, it felt a little bit like he was protesting too much. That, like, oh, these guys are rubbish. I can beat them anyway. You know.
But I mean, if you look at the stats, I mean, the game is stronger than it's ever been. You know, the standard is as strong as it's ever been, stronger than I've ever known. And anyway, and particularly, you know, the lads at the top, like the likes of Mark Williams and Higgins and O'Sullivan, they're still there after 25 years. Yes, I understand that, but the standard in the middle of the table and the bottom of the table is as strong as it's ever been. So I don't really know what he's on about. You know, maybe he's just got better with age. Snooker is one of those games. It's not a physical game. So even as you mature into your 30s and 40s, you can still play to a high standard. Ronnie is doing that. Mark Williams is doing that. And John Higgins are still doing that in their mid-40s, which is quite remarkable. We'll never see the likes of these guys again, probably not.
Ken, just on Twitter last night, like, Stephen Hendry was asked about what did you think about Ronnie's comments about the youngsters coming through, and his reply was not far off the mark. So just to play devil's advocate on it, and Ronnie obviously has said controversial things in the past, but how accurate would it be that, you know, maybe his argument that some of the players a little bit further down are not as committed as he is? I know he talks different times about diet, about nutrition, about the need to have focuses away from the table. So is there any truth to this, or is he just railing against authority?
I think he's just railing. I'm surprised Stephen Hendry actually saying that, because as I said, the standard is we have so many guys coming from China now. You saw that Yan Bingtao, he's number 20, he's in the top 16. There's another guy, Zhu Yulong and Zhao Xintong, really good top players. You've got Corin Wilson now, who's on the precipice of knocking the defending champion out. He's only 28. And you've got a whole host of young players coming through. And as I said, the standard is probably as high as it's ever been. So I don't agree with anything they're saying. It's just that Ronnie is an enigma. He's like a one-off, and he plays the game as like he's playing in practice. And it's very, very difficult to do that. Mark Williams is a similar type in that regard, and they're just like guys that have sort of broke the mold with a lot of the guys that have gone before them. And maybe as Ronnie has got older, he's still one of the best players in the world and still capable of winning this World Championship. But I don't agree with what they're saying. I'm surprised at Stephen Hendry as well.
I mean, you made the argument on the BBC immediately after Ronnie's interview that, some of these young players will probably look up to Ronnie. Some of them might have
exactly,
for the first time.
He's an inspiration to them. Yeah, he's an inspiration to them. A lot of these young guys probably took up the game because of Ronnie O'Sullivan, And, what other sport would you get like one of your best players ever that's ever picked up the game? Can you imagine Roger Federer saying something like that? Can you imagine Dan Carter saying something? Can you imagine even Ronaldo or Messi talking about their fellow pros like that? It's just not. For me, it's not good. People that laugh at it, they say, it's just Ronnie and all that. But I don't like it at all. It's disrespectful. It's dishonourable. He has a duty to the game as an ambassador, which he has been great for the game in other respects, the way he plays. But I think he has a duty as an ambassador to the game and an inspiration to his fellow pros and young kids who are coming up. I don't like to see people talk like that.
Is there an argument then that to take the devil's advocacy a slight bit further, that maybe snooker needs the headlines, that far from the heyday of the 80s, but that even if it is a negative headline, that at least people are talking about it?
Well, listen, Shane, if you were Ronnie O'Sullivan, would you talk like that? Would you disrespect your fellow pros? Would you disrespect your people at work, in your office, where you are now, just to make headlines? Is that right? Does that make it right?
Shane would, Ken. That's the.
Would you do that just to make headlines so you can be anonymous? I don't think. You can make an argument for it, but I still don't believe it's right.
Well, it lacked class.
I was just glad that he didn't.
Yeah, it's not class.
That was the thing, and it's kind of a level of narcissism that Look, we could, as I said earlier, we could all go broke trying to work out what the hell goes on in Ronnie O'Sullivan's mind. It's an interesting topic. Can you talk briefly about Mark Williams? Like, how aggressive a player is he at the moment, at this stage of his career? Because he's kind of in bonus territory, added time, call it what you will, but like there's a World Championship right there for him right now.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's playing with an attitude like he won the World Championship a couple of years ago, and anything else is a bonus now. But he's still a fierce competitor. I mean, you saw the way he played yesterday against Ronnie. He totally outplayed him, for 5 frames. And it makes him, with that type of laid-back attitude that he's had all his life, but now he sort of, after winning that third World Championship, he sort of says, well, everything else is a bonus now. Nobody's expecting me to win. It's a good attitude to have. It takes a bit of pressure off you. And the way he played yesterday was like something like the way he played when he won the World Championship. I wouldn't discount him winning this World Championship again. I mean, if Judd Trump goes out, which it looks like he may do in the top half, I mean, Corin Wilson is going to play maybe Anthony McGill in the semi-final. Mark Selby looks like he's going to beat Neil Robertson. And then you possibly Mark Williams, unless Ronnie really pulls something out of the bag today, Mark Williams is going to play Mark Selby in the semi-final. So any of those guys, and particularly Mark Williams, because he's been there and done it, can certainly win this championship again. And that would be an unbelievable story.
Can I ask you about that crucible curse then, Ken? So for people who might not be familiar with this, any first-time winner at the Crucible Snooker Championship has never successfully defended their title the following year. I mean, even Stephen Hendry, the king of the Crucible, he wins in 1990 for the first time, and John Parrott wins it the following year. I mean, you're probably one of the players that came closest to breaking it. You won in 97 and lost narrowly to John Higgins the following year in the final. So is there something in that Judd Trump is possibly feeling the pressure this year because of this curse?
Absolutely, yeah. It looks that way. I mean, from day one, he hasn't played the way he's been playing all season. I mean, he's had a record-breaking season. He's won 6 ranking tournaments. Nobody has ever done that in one season. He's number one by a mile, no matter what happens after this championship. But the Crucible course and the weight of the Crucible course, in a funny way, I mean, it's been at the Crucible now since 1977, so 43 years. And nobody, as you said, has ever defended the first-time winner. And it looks like it's weighing on Judd Trump's mind at the moment, because he hasn't played anything near the way he's been playing this season. And that's just the way it goes, you know. But Corin Wilson has played very, very well. But since day one, from the first match against Tom Ford, that he was lucky to get through Judd Trump, he hasn't really progressed. We thought over the best of 25 he'll get better and better, but it just hasn't happened for him.
Do you think he'll get stronger as the tournament progresses? I know we've probably seen in the last couple of days Mark Selby, who wasn't maybe that impressive in the early stages. He's 11-5 up against Neil Robertson. I know even yourself in 97, you had those kind of heavy wins where you won, I think it was 13-3 against Steve Davis and thrashed Alain Robidoux in the semi-finals. So maybe winning matches comfortably with a session to spare as it goes on might make it easier. But for Judd Trump now, he's 10-6 down and he looked to be really struggling. I was commentating on Selby Robertson, but I was looking at Judd Trump against Corin Wilson on the other monitor. A lot of it. I shouldn't tell you that really as a commentator, but there you go. But it was quite interesting to see how he was playing. But he looked to be really struggling, and he missed a few crucial frame balls. He looked really under pressure, and it looked like, you know, there's a bit of needle between himself and Corin Wilson. It looked like to be getting to Judd Trump more than it was Wilson. So 10-6 down. He's got to really pull something, just like O'Sullivan has, out of the bag. But the way Corin Wilson's been playing and the form of Judd Trump in this championship, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the defending champion is going to go out today.
What's the needle?
They just had a little spat with each other when I think Corin Wilson played him in a semi-final or one of the tournaments, and he just said he wanted it more. It looked like he wanted to win more than Judd Trump did, and sort of it spat or started a little spat of words, handbags really, you know what I mean? But I don't mind that little bit of spice, that's not bad.
It's the type of thing that people take personally, though, at this level. It's like
I'd rather the guys would slag off each other. You know what I mean? I'd rather Ronnie slag off somebody else, but not
everybody.
I don't mind if he says it, not slag off, but I'd just say if he was playing his opponent, I say, well, I'm better than him. I should be him, and I should do this and I should do that. But you don't disrespect guys who are trying to make it, struggling on the tour. You don't disrespect them by saying, well, if I cut my arm and leg off, I'd still beat them. I don't like that. But I do like a little bit of spice between, or a little bit of banter between players, yes. That's okay.
Ronnie's punching down. At least the two lads are punching each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Another old boy doing good stuff at the moment is John Higgins, who hit the 147 last week.
Yeah, unfortunately he went out of the tournament, but a nice little feather in his cap. There's only been 7 players who have made a 147 at the World Championship, and he's now in that magnificent 7. So it was a great achievement. I still think there might be another 147 before the World Championship is finished. I think it helps a lot of the players that there's no sort of crowd there, so it sort of eases the pressure a little bit, but there is still a bit of pressure out there because it is the World Championship. It's a bit weird watching it, with the atmosphere, nobody there, even though they have the false clapping and stuff like that. Some guy pressing a button every time it's a good shot or a century or frame ball or something like that. But it's just very, very strange without the crowd this year, I must say.
That needle you mentioned, Ken, I mean, we were speaking about the shoulder barge a couple of years ago between Ronnie and Ali Carter before you came on, but the incident between Anthony McGill and Jamie Clark in their match, I mean, so for people who didn't see it, maybe Jamie Clark was supposedly standing in Anthony McGill's eye line for maybe 3 or 4 of his shots. McGill took it a bit personally, said it to him, and Jamie Clark took it the wrong way. I think he tweeted in the interval, if you want to dance, let's dance.
Yeah.
I mean, what were your thoughts on that incident, and do you have any examples?
I have to. Well, see, it's very tight around the crucible, and sometimes when you've played a shot from, say, the top end of the table, the black spot end, and you've rolled the white down to the bulk end, and the player comes to the table really quickly. Sometimes players, because of Jamie Clark's naivety, I would say that he stayed down the black end of the table instead of walking up past Anthony McGill back into the bulk end to where the seats are. So he said, maybe he's done that a couple of times. I don't think he did it deliberately, but Anthony McGill, he's done it a few times. and Anthony McGill had words with him. What he should have done was had words with the referee and told him, you know what I mean, or waited for him, or even called him, say, come on, you can come past me and sit down. That's what he should have done. He shouldn't really have. It shouldn't have really blown into what happened. But what I didn't like was he ran out after him behind the curtain and sort of confronted him backstage. You shouldn't be doing that as a professional. But anyway, it sorted. And it sort of affected Jamie Clark more than affected Jamie Clark in a wrong way, but affected Anthony McGill in a good way, because he was 8-2 down and came back to 8-7 and eventually beat 13-12. So it sort of had more of an adverse effect on Jamie Clark than it did on Anthony McGill.
Did you have any experiences of that during your own career? I remember you mentioned to me before Steve Davis' clenched fist as maybe.
Yeah. But that's part of the game. I don't mind that. That's good. You know, I like to see people showing a bit of emotion around the table. That I don't mind that at all. But sometimes players would complain about other players with the towel, you know, wiping your cue and your eye line, or players standing up in you know, even when they're supposed to be sitting down next to their chair, they'd stand up instead of sit down. I don't like that either. But you know, you just tell the player, can you sit down, please? You know, and most of the time it just passes out without any incident. But this time it sort of got to Anthony McGill.
Do you think you mentioned the behind closed doors element to the Crucible this year, and you know, having been to the Crucible myself the last couple of years, it is quiet in there, but you're fully aware there's 1,000 people sitting silently. Has that behind closed doors element helped the likes of Ronnie, who you know says he can now stay in a hotel close to the venue, he can walk to the venue, and even the qualifiers like Kurt Mafflin, who have performed well, maybe taking away the crowd takes off a little bit of the pressure for the likes of him?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, anytime you be playing Ronnie, it's almost like you play an away game, because you know 90% of the crowd wants him to win and perform. So and particularly in the Crucible when they're so close to you. That really adds to the pressure to whoever you're playing, but particularly when you're playing the big names like Ronnie or Higgins or Judd Trump or even Williams, you know. So yeah, it certainly does add a lot more pressure. So that's why I feel like there's going to be more centuries this year than ever before. There was 100 last year. That was the record. I think that's going to be broken this year. I think like we've already had the 147, and I think, you know, we've seen some great snooker from the qualifiers, Kurt Mafflin, Anthony McGill, and of course Jamie Clark as well. There's been some great stories along the way, but without the crowd it does make a huge difference.
You're playing yourself in the World Seniors, I think it is, the Rocket World Seniors coming up soon. Is it Rodney Goggins, a Wexford man, you're playing in the first round?
It is, yeah. There's an All-Ireland clash, and there's an All-Ireland clash between Dennis Taylor and Michael Judge as well, you know. So I didn't get to play at the Crucible this year in the professional championship. I have to settle for the seniors. That's the way life has gone for me, folks.
But that's still the ambition, though. I assume you're still playing up clearly to a high level. So the ambition, I suppose, is still to get back to the Crucible for one last hurrah, absolutely. Maybe. Yeah, one last hurrah would be nice, all right. Yeah, but it gets more difficult every year. But we'll continue on, Shane, and see how it goes, you know.
Okay, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us. And
anytime.
We're going to send you the video of Shane trash talking his colleagues, literally doing that exact thing that you said he wouldn't do. Because
you'll get the headlines. You'll get the headlines, Shane. That's
he got them.
It was all for an act. It was just an act. You know I'm a nice guy, Ken.
He backed it up and won. That's the thing. Ronnie. Ronnie hasn't. 6-2 down.
Okay, let's see.
Good stuff, Ken. Thanks a million.
Thanks, lads.
It's Ken Doherty. Always great to have him on. Former world champion and obviously part of BBC's commentary team at the moment for the snooker. Talking to us about life at the Crucible. So who's going to win it, Shane?
I mean, I actually think the winner of the Mark Williams-Ronnie O'Sullivan match will win it. And you mentioned Mark Williams there. This would be, we all thought 2018, I was at that tournament and he came into he actually did not expect to win so much that he promised the press that he would come in naked to the press conference afterwards if he won the final. He went on to win. Thankfully, he wore a towel into the press conference and wasn't fully in the book, but he partied for a year. If you follow him on Twitter or Instagram, he just drank, ate, partied for an entire year. And why wouldn't he? He's in his 40s. He's part of that class of 92 with Ronnie and John Higgins. So why wouldn't he party? So if he goes on to win a fourth this year, who knows what he'll do, because he's a serious player, a serious talent, and if he goes on to do it again, then he's a four-time world champion. He'd be one of the greats.
Oh, absolutely. Look, we'll keep a close eye on the snooker for the rest of the week, and you can get more details on it on otbsports.com.